Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving headfirst into a massive debate in modern sports. We are completely challenging this absolute obsession with what fans call ring culture. This whole idea that an athlete's entire worth is determined by whether or not they won a championship. We're going to look closely at some true NBA legends who achieved absolute immortality, guys who completely revolutionized the sport, all without ever putting a championship ring on their finger.
So, let's dive into this question right up front. It's the question that haunts the legacy of basically every elite athlete who dominates their sport but just never manages to hoist that final championship trophy. Does missing out on a team achievement invalidate individual brilliance? Think about your own career or your own life goals for a second. Does missing out on the absolute top spot, or maybe not getting that one specific promotion, just completely invalidate all of your hard work and immense talent? It's a really fascinating lens through which to view these athletes.
Just take a look at this list. The sheer volume of denied greatness here is wild. We're talking about multiple players with MVP awards and absolutely astronomical career stats. You've got Steve Nash and Karl Malone with 2 MVPs each. Look at Nash dropping over 10,000 assists, just orchestrating these incredible offenses. Or Malone pushing nearly 37,000 career points. Embiid, Harden, Iverson, Barkley, they all share MVP honors, insane statistical dominance, and they've all literally carried entire franchises on their backs. Yet they all share one other thing: 0 championship rings. So how does this actually happen? Well, to understand, we got to go back to the beginning.
Section 1. Elgin Baylor, the pioneer. When Elgin Baylor arrived on the scene back in 1958, he was widely considered the very first truly athletic forward in NBA history. He quite literally saved the Minneapolis Lakers franchise from bankruptcy, completely transforming them from a dismal 19-win team right into NBA finalists in his rookie year. And by 1962, he was doing the impossible. 61. That massive number represents his mind-blowing performance against the Boston Celtics. It set an NBA Finals single-game scoring record that, incredibly, still stands today. Decades of basketball, and no one has ever scored more points in a Finals game. But Baylor's impact, it went way, way beyond the stat sheet.
Because Baylor didn't just score points, he invented a completely new way to play the game. Before him, basketball was largely a horizontal game, played pretty firmly on the ground. Baylor basically decided gravity was just a suggestion. He introduced the vertical dimension to basketball, pioneering what we now call hang time. That amazing ability to stay suspended in the air, to adjust a shot or a pass while the defenders just helplessly fell back to earth. Modern forwards, guys like Julius Erving, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant, they are all direct heirs to the aerial game that Elgin Baylor invented.
But here's the stark tragedy of Baylor's career: 8 NBA Finals appearances, 8 Finals losses. His individual brilliance was constantly, repeatedly blocked by the Boston Celtics dynasty and an insurmountable obstacle named Bill Russell. And the irony of his story gets even more brutal. Plagued by knee injuries, Baylor tragically had to retire just 9 games into the 1971-1972 season. And wouldn't you know it, immediately after he retired, the Lakers went on a historic 33-game winning streak and finally won the championship that exact same season. They give him a ring in tribute, sure, but officially his legendary career ended without the title he spent his entire life chasing.
Section 2. Stockton and Malone, the unlucky duo.
Fast forward a bit to the 1990s. Karl Malone and John Stockton played together in Utah for nearly 2 decades. Honestly, they were like a buddy cop action hero duo, forming this absolutely unstoppable 1-2 punch that practically perfected the pick and roll. You knew exactly what they were going to do on the court, and you still couldn't stop it. They were amazing to watch and came incredibly close to the ultimate prize, reaching the finals twice, but agonizingly falling short both times against a very familiar red and black foe.
Individually, though, their accomplishments are just staggering. Malone delivered back-to-back MVP-level dominance and stacked up nearly 37,000 career points. John Stockton retired as the NBA's all-time leader in both assists and steals, records that frankly still look utterly untouchable today. Now, it's a complicated legacy, especially since Malone isn't really remembered as the most likable persona off the court. But purely in terms of basketball, their combined historical weight was monumental, yet it still wasn't enough to capture a title.
Section 3. Charles Barkley, the GOAT's victim. Sticking in the 90s, we find the fascinating case of a player whose championship window collided directly with Michael Jordan. Just look at this legendary head-to-head from Game 2 of the 1993 Finals. Barkley, who was the league MVP that year, goes blow for blow with MJ. Off the court, these two were actually close friends at the time, golfing, hanging out, but on the court, it was a war. Barkley puts up 42 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 assists. In that exact same game, Jordan answers with 42 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists. It was literally the first time in NBA Finals history opposing players scored 40 or more points in a game. Barkley forced the Phoenix Suns into a dramatic 6-game series against a ridiculously powerful Chicago Bulls dynasty, playing absolutely out of his mind.
And this stunning admission from Barkley just perfectly captures the heartbreak of this era. He played as well as anyone possibly could, but being an all-time great meant your ultimate prize was denied simply because you existed at the exact same time as Michael Jordan. It wasn't a lack of talent, it wasn't a lack of heart or will, it was just a brutal accident of timing.
Section 4. Allen Iverson, the cultural icon.
Now, Allen Iverson proved that a legacy isn't just built in the trophy case. It's built in the streets and in the culture of the game itself. But before he even made it to the NBA, Iverson had to overcome immense personal adversity. While he was still in high school, he was involved in a racially charged bowling alley brawl. He was accused of striking a woman, an accusation he heavily denied, but he took the fall as the only famous face there and was actually sentenced to prison before the governor eventually pardoned him for lack of evidence. He thought his dream was completely over, but man, he returned stronger. In the 2000-2001 season, he was an absolute lightning bolt. He carried the 76ers to the finals, gave us the infamous We Talking About practice press conference, won the MVP, and etched himself into history with that legendary step over on Tyronn Lue after hitting a dagger shot in Game 1 against a heavily favored Lakers team.
What's really fascinating about the answer is that he acted as a walking cultural earthquake. Coming from a tough background, he brought 90s hip-hop culture right onto the hardwood. He showed up in baggy jeans, heavy chains, and his signature cornrows, which totally forced a very buttoned-up NBA to completely panic and rethink its strict dress codes. On the court, he popularized the devastating crossover dribble, making elite defenders look foolish. He inspired an entire generation of kids born in the 90s to play with unapologetic flair and to just express themselves authentically.
Section 5. Legacy Beyond the Ring, Redefining Immortality.
When we step back and look at these uncrowned kings through this explainer, a really powerful new narrative emerges about what it actually means to truly leave a mark on a sport. A championship ring is undoubtedly the ultimate team goal, for sure. But individual dominance and cultural influence pave entirely different yet equally valid paths to immortality. Baylor quite literally gave us the verticality of modern basketball. Stockton and Malone defined how a dynamic duo operates. Barkley forced Michael Jordan to his absolute limits, and Iverson, he tore down the wall between street culture and professional sports.
So I'm going to leave you to ponder this question as we wrap up. If these players completely changed the way the game is played, dressed for, and consumed by millions, how do we define true greatness? Think about how we measure success in our own lives. Is it only about that absolute top prize? Or is it about the undeniable impact we leave behind? Because while history always remembers the winners, it absolutely never forgets the legends who revolutionized the game along the way. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the narrative.